Employees at public radio and TV stations across the state are disappointed by DeSantis' decision to cut state funds to public media outlets. WGCU is one of those stations. As an NPR and PBS member station, WGCU will lose $470,000 state dollars. That's about 4% of our budget. And if proposed federal cuts are approved, that's an additional $1.4 million eliminated. To learn more about the impact of this historic cut in government funding to public media, we are joined by Paul Grove, the chairman of the board for Florida Public Media Consortium, representing 24 public radio and TV stations statewide. Paul, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So help us to understand how significant these cuts are, the state cuts to stations across Florida.
Well, we were very disappointed to learn that the governor vetoed the state funding for all the PBS and NPR stations in the state of Florida. We've enjoyed broad bipartisan support for decades. And the biggest surprise was Governor DeSantis had us in the budget originally, so we weren't expecting this.
How will it impact individual stations? Some, I assume, more than others, right?
Yeah, each station is completely different. They say you've seen one PBS station, one NPR station, you've seen one station. There are university licensees, community licensees, we're all governed differently, but it's critical, those dollars for each station. Obviously, in the rural stations, it's going to hit them the hardest because they have the least amount of voluntary support.
As far as when you think of the state cuts combined with the potential cuts in federal dollars, how painful is this for stations?
It's drastic and it's critical, and the dollars we're talking about are immediate to our budgets because we have these in our budgets. Each quarter we receive the dollars that we've been appropriated by the state. In addition, if the actual clawback happens with federal funds, that's a devastating blow to PBS and NPR stations in the state of Florida because these were funds that were already allocated and put into our budgets. So it's very, very difficult to have the dollars brought back when they've already been appropriated and put into law.
Can you give me an example of how it might impact your station?
At WEDU, we've been very successful when it comes to our broad range. We reach almost 7 million people with our signal and with all of our platforms. So for WEDU, we've got a great amount of support versus rural stations that might not have as much support. At WEDU, it's about 13% of our budget, the state and federal funds together. For a smaller station, like a rural station in the state of Florida, it could be more than 50% of the budget. So in many cases, and it's possible, some stations may go dark. At WEDU, we're very fortunate that that won't happen, but we will have to tighten our belts.
Is there any recourse at this point? How do stations move forward?
Well, we continue to do the incredible work that we've done all through, for WEDU, 70 years. We've been around since 1958. So we have to really go back to work and talk to the governor and everybody in the Tallahassee legislature to emphasize the services we provide, the public safety communications we provide throughout the state, the local news and programming, the civic engagement, the education outreach. All the work that we've been doing over these many years is appreciated by the citizens. We've got polls that state that we are valued for the $1.60 per citizen per year on the federal side. And on the state side, it's only around 47 cents per citizen per year. We've got a ton of research that shows Americans believe we're one of the best uses of their taxpayer dollars.
We were talking earlier, but a lot of folks turn to PBS and NPR. I'm thinking about children's programming, British dramas, you name it. But from a public safety perspective, can you talk to me about that, about what you think people may not know about public media?
Yeah, for us, when the last two hurricanes came through the Bay Area, Hurricane Helene and Milton, we were one of the only towers to stand and provide that information when these devastating emergency disasters happened. We've got, I mean, that's the thing that we really need to emphasize. The Florida public media stations are saving lives through our technology and through our over-the-air broadcast. Some of the cell towers don't make it through these devastating winds, whereas the big towers we have that have been erected more than 60 years, 70 years ago, they still stand strong and they provide that information for people that are in those most devastating times.
Paul, if I can end on this, while I know you said these, especially the proposed federal cuts, would be devastating, in the budget, there were two bright spots. Can you talk to us about that? One of them was the Florida Public Radio Emergency Network.
Yeah, the governor did not veto FPRN, which is our Florida Public Radio Emergency Network System support. And he also did not veto the Florida Channel, which provides that transparency of seeing what's happening in the legislative sessions in Tallahassee. We greatly appreciate that. And it's clear we provide something that makes us a must-have, not a nice-to-have. Now we just have to go back to work and let them know that the community service grants that we receive, it's the backbone of FPRN and the Florida Channel. And without them, it's one big system all put together. The programming we provide, Masterpiece, Antiques Roadshow, all the programs, the educational content that's so incredibly important, and the educational teams we have out in the schools, and everything we do when it comes to civic engagement. This is the big package, and we know that we're supported by Americans, and we need to make sure that Governor DeSantis knows this as well.
Paul Grove, we thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. We've got more great content for you, from news to the arts to the environment. So be sure to like and subscribe to WGCU's YouTube channel and follow us on our social media platforms for the stories that matter to you.